to the SheerLuxe Show. I'm Olivia Wayne, and joining me today on the sofa are Heather Steele, Laura Black and Tamara Corin. Welcome, ladies. On today's show, it's a bit of a health special. Later, we'll be debunking common healthy eating myths with nutritionist Lily Soutter. Plus, women's health expert Emma Cannon will be joining me to answer all the period questions that you're too embarrassed to ask. But first, it is day 3 of Royal Ascot this week, ladies. There has been some amazing fashion. I mean, Kate, let's just talk about Kate Middleton. Sorry, the Duchess of Cambridge.
Yes.
Can't call her Kate Middleton. She was wearing that stunning pastel blue Ellie Saab dress, Philip Treacy hat. What did you think?
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Why did you love it so much?
She just looked beautiful. It was just so perfect. I actually think, I was at Ascot on Tuesday, and I think the ladies that didn't wear jackets with the long sleeve, they just look so polished. And she just got the length right, she got the volume right, she got the detail with the bow. I thought she was amazing.
I think it was a really modest dress, but it had so much elegance to it. Everything from just the whole. I love the bow. I love the bow. Give me a bow any day. But also the sheerness of it as well, which is perfect this time of the year. It was just a stunning colour on her.
Does she get it wrong often? I mean, I feel like we're surprised that she's nailed it.
I feel like recently she's just got it so right.
Yeah, I agree.
She has got it
So why
so
is
right.
that? Is she working with anyone different?
She has got, well, I don't know if it's actually official,
Oh,
but
right.
I think, yeah, her friend Virginia Chadwick-Healy is apparently doing some styling for her.
Putting her oar in it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's confirmed, but whatever she's doing,
it's working.
she's doing
Yeah,
it
she's
right.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
So Heather, other than the Duchess,
Duchess.
anyone else catch your eye?
Lady Kitty Spencer, I thought looked pretty good.
Very.
Yeah.
She had a lovely hat.
Very
didn't she?
chic hat, sort of monochrome white. I thought she looked really cool.
She actually often gets it right too. She's very elegant.
Yeah.
But she does a lot of modelling for like Dolce and stuff, doesn't she?
Does she? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's got
walked
a
in the
modelling
show.
background as well, she does.
Yeah, so she wears clothes really well, and also in the pictures knows how to stand
Yes,
and
yes,
pose well.
yes.
I loved someone I don't know, but this is the power of a good dress. Her name's Rosie Tapner. From research, she's a kind of aspiring presenter model. I think she does Ascot TV. So she was in this pink Susanna dress with
gorgeous.
this red bow, and she just looked what a dress that was.
it was amazing.
And yeah, it must have made all the best dressed lists. I mean, admittedly, she was with a microphone and camera, so maybe she would have been seen more. But still, she got
made an
noticed.
impact,
Yeah, in a really
definitely.
beautiful way, not in a.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think also Deborah Brett, who is a fashion editor, influencer, she's everywhere, and her
is beyond
style
chic.
is. She looked incredible.
Incredible. I follow her on Instagram,
Yeah.
and on Tuesday morning I woke up, the weather forecast was, it was a monsoon, and she was like, I'm wearing full length cream and I am not changing. She was like, I'm
And good
going
for
with
her.
it. And good
But
for
I
her.
also follow her, and she really went into I ordered, I've gone for high street shoes, they're likely to get a bit begrubbed, and then ordered this kind of matching umbrella from Amazon just to tie in.
really
I
good
thought that was
idea.
really like the Queen.
Yeah.
Doesn't the Queen quite often have a matching
But you
umbrella?
know what? She also puts so much detail into everything she
Yeah.
does. I don't know if you've ever seen her baking.
Oh my God, her baking is incredible.
And she's does ceramics.
Yeah.
She is obviously an arty kind of creative person, and she looked phenomenal. Any others? I think you mentioned Daisy Natchball.
Yeah, so Georgie met Daisy recently on Behind the Scenes, and I think last year she was the first lady to wear top hat and tails.
Oh, wow.
She looked amazing. I googled that yesterday, and she just nailed
yeah,
it. She
looked
looked so
amazing.
cool.
And this year she wore yellow in a suit and just looked incredible.
I think it's so lovely that she went completely out of the norm.
Well,
and
it kind of, I
gets
feel
people
like
talking.
it takes it a bit more modern, because it is a weird thing, Ascot. It does feel a bit archaic and marginally dated, I think, in a way.
It's a little bit My Fair Lady.
It is.
is.
And
It is.
she's kind of making it feel a bit more current. And
Which I think is fine and lovely too, but there's something nice about one time
Yeah, true.
throwing it back and being a bit traditional. Because,
Yeah.
obviously we've progressed so much in so many ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just nice
Yeah.
to play dress up.
But I do like that because it is so different.
Yes.
And it does stand out just as much as a beautiful hat and dress.
Yeah, for
Okay, we
sure.
could talk about this all day, but really we must
Yeah.
crack on. Right, despite the fact Googling your health symptoms isn't advised, hear it from us first. Reports show people regularly favour the internet for answers, then a visit to their GP. There's a whole piece on the site all about kind of the most Googled health questions, including what causes high blood pressure. Just quickly, because, you know, we know you shouldn't, but do you do it?
Of course. I do it the whole time.
Do you?
Yeah, and I know I shouldn't, and you're told the whole time, whatever you do, do not look this up. You'll only hear the worst.
Oh, you are dying.
You are dying.
You are dying.
But I think we've all got into that habit of searching everything online. So it seems the right thing to do. You just Google if you don't. And also you learn things from it as well. You do, if you can research something your GP has said.
But that's different, as in, you have this, you can do some research.
Yeah.
If you're literally like, I have a headache and I've gone a bit blurry visioned, you're literally,
Yeah, I would Google
I've got
that.
a brain tumour.
Yeah.
Just like that,
Yeah.
who knew?
But I think if you go into the doctor and you say, I've got this and that, I have got, they're just going to be a bit annoyed. But if you say, I've read a few things and I've got this symptom
Oh,
and that
trust me,
symptom.
they'd be annoyed with that too. I've read a few things, must be like, oh great, I'm pleased I studied for 7 years.
7 years, I know, there's that whole thing, isn't there? But I think if you can just go in and just show that you're kind of, you've just done a little bit of research. And
I know I'm being a hypochondriac,
Yeah,
but
just in case you haven't thought of this
The
scenario.
other thing is, it's just so hard to get a doctor's appointment as well. So I personally don't Google anything. I'm just kind of like, whatever, it's fine, just ignore it. But I
also
can
bad.
see.
Not for too long.
But I feel like, it's so hard to get an appointment. I can see why, especially if you've got kids as well. The temptation would be there to just ask doctors.
I think the rule is if you do it, you've just got to look on the NHS website and not go and start delving through the
Mums now.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing I would say as well, like obviously doctors are hugely pressured for time. So sometimes I think you're trying to do them a favour. Like it's nothing, but I just don't think it works out for you. And to check things out.
I actually do think if you've got a friend who is a doctor, I'd phone them first if you can, before you do look on the internet, because I think they'd give you first-hand advice without all the drama.
A GP is a general practice. They can't possibly be well versed in every ailment either. So I think if something is really niggling and persisting, just go to a specialist. Like don't hold back.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear of things all the time that you should have just followed your gut. Always follow your gut. According to various studies, those who are late are more successful. The unfairness of that than punctual people. We are all punctual. Can't bear lateness.
Can't bear it.
How do you feel about that? They are more successful, those late, rude people.
It was saying successful and also more chilled and relaxed. And that I can understand because, people I know who are late are like the most kind of laid back, unstressed people ever. So, and I feel stressed quite often and probably a lot of it is the rushing.
I wish I had a bit of it in me. I wish that I could be...
I agree.
Best.
A bit more laid back. I mean, I can't be late even if I try to be.
Even with 5 kids.
Even with 5 kids, but it's just in me. That's part of my nature, and I actually do think it's really rude.
So
I think it's really rude.
Your time is not more valuable than ours.
Yeah.
No, my husband is so late. I'm talking hours.
You said
hours late for things. He's getting better, but still late.
Yeah.
And the overwhelm and anxiety I feel.
That you feel.
And are you cross?
Fuming. And like I can't let it go. And it's been 10, 12 years. Like I cannot let it go. And also for an airport or something. CBD oil all the way. It's the only way I get through it. Like put my drops in because I'm literally freaking out.
I think that is a relationship test, the airport though. It's like there's one, 2 categories. One who likes to get there 3 hours early and one who likes to coast in. I'm one, my boyfriend's the other, and that's probably the biggest source of any argument is me. Once I nearly just got on a train earlier to go to the airport because I was like, I don't want to be late. I can't do it.
I've been on the plane. We went separately because he lost his passport on the day because who's not? Let's not bash my husband. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. Anyway, ultimately, disorganised people are more enthusiastic. That's because they can't find their stuff. And different types of people actually perceive time differently. Multitaskers perceive time more slowly.
I think the overall thing is they're a bit more optimistic, aren't they?
Because they've got to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I might be late, but I've come with all the chairs. Anyway, I can't change, and I'm guessing neither of us can, even if we want to be late.
No.
Right, and finally on this, the weather hasn't been great. Sorry to break it to you. News just in, the weather's been shocking, but it is National Picnic Week, and it starts tomorrow, 21st and 30th. So you had a picnic at Ascot, I assume.
Yes, we did.
So tell us top tips. I mean, we've shared a piece on the site to tell you how to pack the perfect picnic, but what are your top tips for a good picnic?
So I shared this earlier and you all had a little laugh at me, but when we were setting up, on Tuesday. And admittedly, we had a table and chairs because, you know, it's the one time that you do really go for it with your picnic. But my sister came and she brought out some fresh flowers she picked from the garden, and then we had them on the table, and suddenly it was just...
That is an elevated picnic right there.
Exactly.
But like, if you're going to your local park because it's nice and you've like popped via a well-known high street supermarket, probably not also going to buy like a bunch
Pick them
of daffs.
from the meadow.
Where do you pick them?
I'm also not sure that you can just pick flowers anywhere, can you?
Yes,
I don't
Are you
know the
allowed
rules.
to?
yeah, probably, you're probably right.
Yeah, maybe don't, just in
Maybe
case.
don't.
Okay, so
So don't forget your vase.
Yeah,
right, that's
water.
essential. Oh yeah, because you need water.
Yeah.
Right,
don't
so
do
what
that.
else? What do you recommend tomorrow?
I think just to make it a bit more, you know, fancy, some really nice paper plates and napkins. You can get some gorgeous ones. I recently picked up really lovely designs in Waitrose. Just makes everything look a bit nicer and like you've made a bit of an effort.
I tell you who else do really lovely glasses, picnic glasses, is Ochre.
Yes.
And if you're having a wine out of a nice glass,
Yeah.
it suddenly just feels a
Yeah, I
bit more
agree.
I agree.
special.
And look, you're always taking stuff home too. Like
Exactly.
you don't go and then leave with nothing.
Yeah.
So whatever.
I do try and dump as much as I
Yeah,
can.
like
Yeah.
you don't want loads of china and crockery to have to schlep back. But I have from Amazon those picnic blankets which are waterproof underneath.
Yes, so that's a good
Very,
idea.
you know, because unfortunately, like if
practical.
you're picnicking today, yes, it will still be boggy underfoot.
Yeah.
So at least you won't get a wet botty. What about you? What's wrong
Mine
with
is, I've learned the hard way not to bother buying, you know, those lovely olives in oil and those peppers with stuff in, because they're just too oily and they don't have proper lids on. It's just the
Yeah, once you
back
see,
lids.
yeah, but
So,
who goes home with olives? I mean,
no, that's true, but then it's even just trying to get it to the bin with all the
True.
oil and no lids.
You
It's
could
just a
decant
disaster.
first.
That is a good tip. But if you're buying it en route,
Route,
you
yeah.
can't. But maybe, decant first if you're preparing at home. 'Cause
olives
otherwise,
are a great
oil
picnic
disaster.
tip, yeah.
But they are good accompaniment.
Nuts, crudité, dips.
Snacks.
Yeah, no one don't like pull out a roast chicken. Like that's just not on.
Oh.
Well, I think we'll leave it there, ladies. Thanks so much for joining me today. Next up, though, Lily Soutter will be joining me to debunk healthy eating myths. Now, there's so much conflicting advice, old wives' tales, and general rubbish out there when it comes to healthy eating. So today, nutritionist Lily Soutter is here to set the record straight on 12 of the most common healthy eating myths. Thank you for coming in, Lily. We need an expert because, let's be honest, the internet is awash with kind of faux experts telling us to do all sorts of things. So I imagine you feel pretty strongly about this topic. Tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Well, I got into nutrition because I suffered from really bad psoriasis when I was younger, and food massively helped me. So I tailored all my training to do what I wanted to do in nutrition, and I studied at Newcastle University where I completed my food and human nutrition degree, and I did a further 2 years doing nutritional therapy, and I'm completing my MSc in nutritional medicine at the moment at Surrey.
Well qualified. Yeah. We can guarantee we ain't got no frauds on here today. So let's start. Egg yolks raise cholesterol. True or false?
Well, false. So there is definitely a common misconception that we need to stay away from egg yolks because they raise cholesterol. And this is because egg yolks actually contain cholesterol. But the research has shown...
May I just ask, there's good and bad cholesterol though?
There is.
Is that true? Is that a myth?
No, that is actually true. There is good and bad cholesterol. However, dietary cholesterol doesn't correlate with increased blood cholesterol.
Which is the good one.
Yeah, and up to 1 egg per day is absolutely fine alongside a balanced diet. And it's really important to check, what are you cooking your eggs with? So for example, if you're scrambling them in lots of saturated fat like butter, or you're combining them with fatty cuts of meat like bacon, it's more likely to be the saturated fat which will raise the harmful cholesterol rather than the egg yolks in and of themselves.
People just want to cut the yolk because they don't want to cut the bacon.
Well, yeah.
Well, sorry guys, I hate to ruin it for you. Right, fruit is high in sugar, therefore we need to limit intake. This is, I feel like, is a real faddy misconception, hopefully.
Absolutely, and there is a lot of confusion as to whether we should cut back on fruit. You may have heard of people saying bananas make you fat, or fruit is high in sugar, so it's very unhealthy. But really, the sugar in fruit is actually locked into a fibrous matrix, which helps to slow the rate at which the sugar is released into the bloodstream. And what's more, fruit has a very high fibre content, and this fibre has satiating properties, so it helps to keep us full. So you won't really hear of people eating 10 oranges in a row, but you may drink a glass of orange juice which has 10 oranges juiced. And it just shows the power of fibre on how it makes us feel.
Interesting. I mean, I feel like juicing is a whole other topic, but we can't get into that right now. Carbohydrates make you fat. I mean, classic.
Again, very common misconception. And an overconsumption of any kind of food group will lead to weight gain. It's important to know, what are you combining your carbs with? So if you are adding lots of butter to your toast, or you are having heavy pasta sauces or fatty chips, it's the overall caloric value of that dish which will lead to the weight gain rather than the carbs.
Itself, okay.
Yeah.
So all of this seems to be like, you need to have a general overview of what you're consuming. It's never just the one thing.
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at me, learning. Right, unrefined sugar is healthier than white sugar. Big on Insta, I'd say, this kind of healthy baking with, you know, none of the refined sugar.
Which I guess the issue there is that it can lead to overconsumption of sugar because we perceive unrefined as much healthier. And I guess this perception comes from the fact that unrefined sugar does tend to have more vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. But for those vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to have any impact on our daily nutrient status, we would have to eat a lot of sugar, and that would entirely negate the benefits.
Right.
Yeah.
So, sorry, no.
Yeah.
So would a cube of regular chocolate versus a cube of, I don't know, date syrup chocolate, if that even exists, be any different really for you on your sugar consumption?
Very marginally.
So you don't need to get yourself in a tiz on that?
No.
Just have a little?
Absolutely.
For those that can stick to a cube, good for you. All low-fat yogurt is high in sugar. And I feel like this is definitely something I believe, because if they've taken out the fat and the kind of flavour and fullness, what they're putting in to compensate. But please, tell me I'm wrong.
So again, it's a myth. You know, a lot of low-fat yogurts, if they are flavoured, they can have added sugar to counteract that tart flavour. But it doesn't apply to all low-fat yogurt. Right. Generally, if it's flavoured, that's what's to look out for. And always check the back of the label to see if there is added sugar, because yogurt naturally contains some intrinsic sugar. And a quick way of going about to check if yogurt is high in sugar is to double check if it's got more than 22.5 grams of sugar per 100 grams. That is high in sugar, and it will flag up on the red zone of the traffic light labelling system.
Okay, great. So anything else is a natural amount that's contained?
Yes.
Okay, great. Oh, we better crack on. There's so many. Yeah. Right, sugar is as addictive as drugs.
There's a lot of confusion around this, a lot of debate. Most of the research has been done on rats, where when they are exposed to a sugar solution, they will probably display addictive binge-like properties, but it's only when they've been deprived of food for a period of time. When they're exposed to a sugar solution like a normal person and it's not being deprived from them, those addictive-like, binge-like behaviours disappear.
So if we were fasting all day and then all there was in front of us was sugar, we'd probably have a similar reaction, but if we could eat normally, then we might not.
Likely, and it's difficult to determine whether they are over-consuming sugar due to hunger or genuine withdrawal.
So we need to test it on humans, really, and
Absolutely.
chat to them about it.
Absolutely.
Any volunteers? Okay, fresh food is healthier than frozen.
Not always the case. When frozen food is actually frozen, it's picked at its ripe, when it's most ripe, and therefore it could have more nutrients. They degrade more slowly when it's frozen as well.
So if you buy it frozen but use quite instantly once you have them, it should be okay.
Yes.
Nuts will cause weight gain. The era of nut butter is upon us, so tell me that ain't true.
Yeah, so there's some interesting research which had about 100 females where they were overweight and they had a handful of nuts each day, and they lost more weight than those who didn't consume any nuts. And it's thought that these properties are down to their satiating effects, which is due to the fibre, protein and healthy fats found in nuts. So they could help with weight loss, but nuts are high in calories, so you don't want to overconsume them.
Right, so it's have your handful, but you don't need to be like gorging on packs of nuts.
Yeah.
Again, moderation, I mean, it's the same thing that we do know, we just don't want to hear, I think.
Yeah.
Canned vegetables are always less nutritious in comparison to fresh.
Not always the case.
Oh.
So if you look at canned tomatoes, they actually are richer in an antioxidant called lycopene. And lycopene gives canned tomatoes that red, vibrant sort of colour. And lycopene has actually been researched for benefits on cardiovascular health.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really good to know, because I use a lot of those at home. Right, hot water and lemon alkalizes the body. I mean, surely that must be true.
So this has been going on for a while, this myth, and actually our body has a homeostatic mechanism where it's tightly controlled in relation to its pH levels. If our bodies were too acidic, we would be very ill in hospital, and no food or drink will alkalise the body.
Huh. Right, so that's just a mental, nice cleansing thing to do, but there's no absolute beneficial impact to it. Coffee is unhealthy. Say it ain't so.
Excess consumption isn't going to be great, but coffee is also very rich in antioxidants, which could have beneficial effects on health. And also we do know that short-term coffee consumption can have positive effects on energy, cognitive performance, and even mood.
And also, I guess, with coffee, again, if you're mixing it with, like, creamy, sugary syrups, not good. But if you're having a nice, plain black Americano, buzzing. Literally. Right, finally, we should never cook with olive oil. I mean, that one is definitely around.
Yeah, absolutely. So olive oil is very rich in monounsaturated fats and vitamin E, which have really great properties for heart health, and it's going to be a better oil to cook with than saturated fats like butter. I guess the worry comes from the smoke point of olive oil, and that's basically the point at which the oil will burn when you cook at a certain temperature. But really, when we're frying, we fry at around 170 degrees, only for a couple of minutes, so olive oil should be fine. But if it is of concern, you could use something like refined olive oil, which has a higher smoke point.
Right, okay. And coconut oil, just quickly.
Coconut oil is fine. It's still a saturated fat at the end of the day, so moderation is going to be important. Avocado oil has not really had much PR around it, but it actually has a higher smoke point than coconut oil.
Oh, so that would be a good one.
Yeah, and it's a monounsaturated fat, which could be an option.
Oh, good to know. Everyone load up on the avo oil. All right, Lily, well, I think you've cleared up a lot there. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are looking for more nutritional advice, please do go and visit www.lilysouternutrition.com. Next, though, I'm going to be back with Emma Cannon talking all things periods.
Hi SheerLuxe, I'm Katie Jane Hughes, celebrity and editor and makeup artist, and I'm going to show you how to get super glowy, luminous skin with very few steps. I do not always use foundation. I actually pretty much exclusively use concealer. Stretch concealer from Glossier is one of my favorites, and I use it with a fluffy brush and I spread it really, really sheer over the face. It gives you this insane radiance and glow. Tea Kaffir Mist. I'm getting the skin wet with this and allowing me to go in with some more moisturiser. Sweep it just over the cheeks to keep everything really, really light and fresh. And then she's done.
The premise of this is that we've done 3 different shoots with different women for the outlet. This is what we're putting you in today. This one is preferable, but then we've got a backup as well.
Charlotte tells me that I should wear.
Are you friends with Charlotte Tilbury?
You should definitely have pillow talk. She said you need the whole pillow talk look. I'll send it to you.
We'll go for that look then.
This is a very casual dining room.
18th century Irish mahogany table, 20th century Arnie Jacobson chairs, 16th century tapestry called the Battle of Zama. When you ask me about my interior design rules, a project like this, there are no rules you begin to follow. You've got to sit in this space and just think, how are we going to deal with it?
How would you describe your signature style?
Everything's very maximalist, a blend of lots of different colour, print, pattern. But our signature style, I'd say, is our long duster cardigan. In the summer, we use a cotton yarn. And in the winter, superfine merino.
Going to try a couple of things on?
Yeah, I think I will.
What are you going to go for?
You need to see this on. Maybe the left. Let's try those pieces then. So here's the dress. That's for the jacket. I feel like it needs a pair of heels. Where's the hairband gone? There's a lot of green.
Charlotte Collins, what are you wearing now?
Outfit number 2, Haley Menzies. Crocodile print in leopard colours. Caftan dress. So nice for your swimming costume. Really nice and light. So actually, this is going to look really good on the beach. Add a pair of heels. Wear for the evening too.
Now, best known for her unique and holistic approach to fertility, women's health expert Emma Cannon has been helping women with her advice for over 20 years, and we had such a great response last time Emma was on the show that we had to ask her back just so I could learn to speak properly. But this time we want to talk all things periods, because it seems to be a bit of a taboo topic for some people. So we want to ask the questions that you're kind of a bit iffy to ask. And Emma definitely won't be embarrassed to talk about it, and nor am I. You know, nothing embarrasses me. So we've got loads to get through, Emma. So rather than whittling on about lovely other things, let's crack on, shall we? So these are all from viewers. Thank you for sending in. What's better for my body, tampons or pads?
Okay, sorry ladies, but pads.
I mean, I feel like we know that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. For some people it's okay to use tampons, but in Chinese medicine there's a condition that we call blood stagnation, where the blood doesn't flow very well. And the problem with tampons is they often don't absorb the clots. So if you've got very clotted blood, it will absorb the bloody bit of the period, but it won't absorb the clots. And sometimes you'll see those sort of stuck on the outside of the tampon. But otherwise, they can sort of stay in the system. And we say that that causes a stagnation of blood in the system. Now, we can't equate that to a Western diagnosis, but in terms of the energetic flow, we
Get
prefer,
it out.
Yeah, especially at night.
Right, okay. So if you're really, you want to go a bit on
compromise.
Go for a nice, good, heavy pad at night.
And a nice cotton, healthy one rather than.
And there's loads of organic options and things nowadays.
Yeah, yes, I think so. I mean, actually, the ones they give you after you have a baby, I think, are the best.
The
but they are
ones.
really the big fan because they really help you breathe. I mean, some of those very synthetic ones are a bit sweaty, I think.
And that's, you don't feel you're on your most unsweaty, unsmelly game anyway during that time. So
at night, I think
pads
you
at
can
night.
compromise.
Okay, fine. My period colour has changed. It's not super red anymore. It's really light reddish pink colour. Is that normal? And I guess it could also go for a dark brownish colour, like change in colour.
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time asking people about the colour of their period. It's like full of information. So in Chinese medicine, we can tell everything about a woman's health by her menstrual symptoms alone. So looking and assessing the colour of the blood is important to us. So if it went from a very bright red to a kind of watery, dischargey type, watery, pinky red, that to me, and of course you can't just take one symptom on its own, but with other symptoms, I would think about there would be some sort of deficiency. So perhaps they changed their diet recently. Often if you start eliminating meat, not that that's always a bad thing, but if you change your diet or if you're over-exercising, you can start to become a bit deficient, and that can be reflected in the colour of the blood.
Right, so worth it investigating and thinking more about what you're doing to see if that's why. Okay.
Yeah, or if it's come after a heavy blood loss or something like that.
Okay.
But Chinese medicine practitioners or nutritionists would probably be the best people to speak about that.
Is premenstrual insomnia a thing? Any tips to overcome it?
Yes, it is. I sometimes think that these things that we see as bad are sometimes just part of the process. So I think the time before our period is a bit of a time where we need a bit more space. But I think in our modern lives, we just don't really allow ourselves.
It doesn't fit in with life.
No. So I think it's a time when you're sort of I don't know, that your psychology is changing a bit and you're sort of processing the month. I think that the loss of time on women's health has been a bit catastrophic, and so I think sometimes premenstrually it can catch up with us. So I think there's something going on there in that department, but also there is a shift in hormones, and from a very scientific point of view, yes, it is a thing. But I think the key lies in giving yourself time, a bit of self-love, making a bit more you time around the
and also I guess
phase.
if you know it comes, don't stress about it coming, just embrace what it is and try and catch up accordingly in and around it if you can.
Yeah, exactly.
For the past year or so, I no longer get sore boobs, many PMS signs or period pains before any period. I feel like I have no hormones, but I do still get a period. Should I be concerned about an imbalance, or is it just things are balancing out as I hit my mid-20s?
I love the fact that we would see that as a problem.
You're like, oh no, I feel wonderful.
Yes, I don't feel rubbish anymore.
But if you get the period still...
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fine. I mean, actually, all of those symptoms are, they're very common, but they're not. they do show us some imbalance there. So the sore breast and the mood changes, that shows me there's some imbalance there.
Right.
Especially from a Chinese medicine point of view, from an energetic point of view, the qi, we say that the energy stagnates, so we would move the energy more so you have a smoother transition. I think that's a very good thing. So if you're feeling good, let's not worry about that.
But on that note, someone has written, can acupuncture help with relieving heavy periods, but I guess also other symptoms that may potentially be an imbalance of hormones around this time? And maybe not acupuncture, but other remedies?
Well, I think acupuncture is probably the best... the best therapy I know for that, and obviously with good nutrition. Because what it does is it affects the hypothalamus, which is the part of the brain that controls the hormones. So it has a very measurable effect. So we know from looking at the changes in the brain that actually it is affecting the part of the brain. So acupuncture is my go-to therapy for all things
Okay,
menstrual.
great. And would it have to be kind of a hormonal, fertility, women's health expert, or all acupuncturists should be?
Yeah, I mean, I would always, for me, I would always go for someone who has an interest in that area.
Okay.
Because I think, just like GPs, most acupuncturists are generalists, but I think more and more we are seeing some specialists within it.
Very good advice. Is it possible to get pregnant on your period?
Yes.
Yes. Because that's the biggest myth of all, isn't it? That like on day 14 you will.
Wouldn't that be a good contraception? But no, yes it is, because obviously the sperm lives on, sperm can live for 5 days. All that the period is telling us is that the endometrium is still breaking down, so the womb lining is still passing. It's not telling us that you're not ovulating, and of course the sperm can hang around and pop out.
Cheeky buggers.
And meet the egg, so yeah, it's definitely possible.
And then boom, you've got triplets. No joke.
Yeah, but I mean, good on the people that are having sex when they've got their period.
That's actually the takeaway from this. Wow, good for you. Right, what advice tips do you have for getting back what was once a very regular cycle following a miscarriage in order to conceive again?
Acupuncture, and we do a lot around nutrition, so eating different foods at different stages of the cycle.
We just did a whole article on seed cycling on the
Yes.
Oh, was that you?
No, it wasn't me. I don't think I did it with you. No, I did it with someone else. But yes, seed cycling. So that comes from Chinese medicine.
Right.
But I sort of take that a step up. So I do different foods at different times of the cycle. So after the bleed, it's very much about nourishing blood. So if you're eating meat, we do sort of bone broth and things like that. Leafy green vegetables, beetroots, that sort of food. Yes, in the second phase of the cycle, the luteal phase, in women who are trying to conceive or with menstrual cycles. It's with menstrual cycles? Women who are trying to conceive or with premenstrual symptoms. There's a lot of about warming the body, because it's sort of the incubation phase.
So not cold foods, but stews
and
hearty.
And not raws and not too much juicing and things like that. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely something to look into.
Yeah.
I'm in my mid-30s and my periods are really impacting my mood swings and emotions. It's particularly bad a week before my period. I've gone to the doctors as it's impacting my life. The only option given to me was antidepressants. However, I'm not depressed, it's my hormones. Is this normal, and do other women in their 30s experience this? Any recommendation on how to make my mood more stable in the lead up to my period?
Yeah, I mean, normal, but not, it's common but not normal sort of thing. So yes, it does show that there is an imbalance. Again, I think it's that time about self-care and self-nurture. Again, acupuncture is very good, but also look at your nutrition. Magnesium can be good. Also, look at the emotional picture as well. Like, are there some subconscious things that are coming to the surface premenstrually that maybe you want to pay attention to? I find therapies like EFT quite good. Emotional freedom technique is tapping.
Oh, tapping, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really quite good for anxiety and any kind of moodiness and stress around that time. But you can do a lot with nutrition, and you can do a lot with acupuncture.
And are there kind of natural supplements as well to boost things?
Yeah, there are.
Is that considered nutrition?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So supplementation and nutrition, I would go and speak to somebody about it rather than just giving you general advice.
And I guess GPs, they want to prescribe, but on the holistic side of things, it's good to maybe get a more kind of natural alternative viewpoint if you don't want to go straight to that.
I mean, if you're not actually depressed, I think it's...
Stay away from antidepressants.
I think it's not, I'm not against people taking antidepressants at all. But I mean, I think sometimes it's because they haven't got anything else to offer you that they'll offer you something where the other things are available.
Okay.
Other options are available.
Always other options. Since having my first baby 1 year ago, my periods are much heavier for the first 2 days. Is this normal?
Yeah, that's normal because a lot of things have changed. So yeah, that's normal. It can be quite depleting. So again, I would look at the sort of what I call the menstrual tonic. So if you're losing a lot of blood with your period, it's a good idea to nourish the blood post-menstrually. So if you do eat meat, that's a good time to have a steak or something. Or if you don't, increase your leafy green vegetables, beetroots, things like that we know in Chinese medicine nourish the blood. Heavy periods can mean that you're not ovulating, because what happens is ovulation happens around day 14. If you don't ovulate, progesterone isn't released. And then what happens is the lining of the uterus just builds up and up and up and up and up. And at some point, it's just like a stack of cards. It just sort of tumbles.
Right.
So it could mean that you're not ovulating.
I have no periods. What does this mean?
Okay, so this is the biggest growth area that I see in clinic in the last 5 years. I think particularly with extreme exercise.
And is this for people who have had periods and now no longer?
Yeah. So it really is massive at the moment, and I really do put it down to pressures of social media and changes in diet, and also extreme exercise regime. So often comes when there's a massive change in what you're eating and you suddenly up your exercise. And what happens is, if you're not having a period, you're not ovulating, so obviously you're not fertile. So yeah, one of the first things I would look at is whether
the lifestyle.
The lifestyle, and also what precipitated the stopping of the periods. So
can other things, if it's not that, cause it, like stress or grief or other elements?
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it can, definitely. But it does indicate that there's no ovulation taking place. So obviously you can't get pregnant. It is possible to drop an egg before you get a period, as we know. so that's not a good contraception. So yes, you can't guarantee that pregnancy wouldn't happen, but it is indicative of you not ovulating. Hypothalamic amenorrhea is a real thing. It's often misdiagnosed as polycystic ovaries. You want to have a look at the bloods and the history to decide whether it is polycystic ovaries or whether it's hypothalamic amenorrhea, because if you look under a scan, the ovaries look very similar.
Right, so seek proper advice and expertise.
Yes.
Why do some periods stop and start, sometimes multiple times, before finally ending?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Western medicine has much to say about this, but Chinese medicine, of course, all over this. We would say this is blood stagnation, so that the flow of blood isn't optimal during the period. It could be what we talked about earlier with the tampons, but and also cold. Like sometimes if the system is very cold, so if somebody is walking around in belly tops, like I used to in the 90s. Yeah, not for me. Or eating a lot of cold raw foods, and that's very common these days. Juicing fast, things like that. So that creates a lot of cold in the system. Some people are okay with that. Some people aren't.
Right.
this is England, cold and damp,
Yes.
not California.
Right.
I think we have to adapt our diets depending on where we are. I don't think it's as good for us in this country to eat raw food. So I'm an advocate of cooked food, especially in the evening. So just have a look at your diet. If you're eating a lot of raw foods, I would avoid raw food after 4 o'clock. No raw after 4 is a bit of a rule, because this puts a lot of cold energy into the system, and that can cause some stagnation in the blood. So, very Chinese medicine answer.
Well, I really believe in the kind of that way of doing things, and with regard to stagnation of the blood, I actually went to see a kind of, I guess she's a healer, and she was like, "Oh, you're so stagnated," and was literally getting, what out of me. Subsequently fell pregnant after, but hey ho. But how? I mean, if you don't have a healer on site, how can you release stagnated blood or get things flowing yourself?
Good
or do you have
question.
to go see someone?
No. I mean, look, when we do acupuncture, we're moving energy, but you can move energy yourself. So you can move energy by, hula hoops.
Yeah.
And I think some of the exercise that we do these days is very stagnating. It's very kind of jerky and lifting weights and things like that, which is good for other things. But it doesn't really bring that nice feminine flow. And I think I look at a lot of the influencers that do a lot of workout, and they're very stagnated. The chi doesn't flow. They get disrupted menstrual cycles. So bring some exercise in that has much more flow about it, some movement, dance, fun stuff. Like, women's energy is to flow. And we're sort of turning a little bit into robotic machines, which is a shame, and it's not doing our gynecology any favours. So belly dancing, for example.
Oh, love. Yeah, we get it all.
Yes,
Was it?
To tonify the female anatomy.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really all of that kind of thing, or the movement around the hip. I've recently taken up Kundalini. It's amazing.
Wow.
It really gets you in touch with your sexual energy. There's a lot of people walking around with very tightly toned bodies, but not much libido, feeling a bit miserable, having stop-start periods. Let it all flow, girls.
Yeah, let's reclaim a bit of our femininity.
Exactly, we're goddesses.
Oh, aren't we? Well, on that, I think we've got through a lot, but we could
so
go
much
on all
more.
day. Yeah, so much more. It was really insightful, though. Thank you, Emma.
That's
and if you do want to know more, do visit emmacannon.co.uk, which will be linked in the show notes below. Blech. What is wrong with me? Below, along with everything else, I swear. Emma and Lily, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your advice. We'll be back next Tuesday with Amanda Harrington, who will be revealing her top tanning tips. Until then, do please like, subscribe, review, tell your friends, all the usual. Bye-bye.